Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Futboliando. I am Jose Duran, and this week we're going to be discussing the LA Galaxy game and the LAFC game, El Trafico. What a showdown down in Carson. This video, for the purposes of it, we're going to be discussing it in two parts, right? We're going to be discussing kind of how the game was broken down to as a game of two halves, right? First half led by completely by the LA Galaxy. I wouldn't say led completely by the Galaxy, but led in terms of the scoreboard to end the first half. And then the second half, it was completely all LAFC, right? I think the Galaxy took their foot off the pedal, if you would say, and it was all LAFC in terms of attacking, creating chances, and obviously we all know what the game's kind of been centered around has been the calls by the referees, right? 3 offside calls by LAFC. We'll be discussing them as the episode goes on through, but we'll be discussing them in two halves, right? First half, second half, and we'll kind of go from there, and kind of just to start off the bat, I think the Galaxy were up a hand already in the first couple of minutes, or before the even game started, I would say, right? I felt that players felt a lot more comfortable. If you looked at what was going on in the tunnel, I'm sure all of you have seen the videos between Chicharito and between Vela. It looked like a Chicharito more relaxed. Obviously, we saw him just the way he kind of burst out laughing when he found out that he won that coin toss. And Vela not so much, right? It seems like it showed in the language of the players, and it showed definitely on the field who was a team that was felt more comfortable, right? Even though the LAFC seemed to kind of had more of the possession in the first couple of minutes in the first half, I would say the Galaxy were a lot more on point in terms of when it came down to shots on target and taking the lead, right? But from the first minute, we saw a Cifuentes shot, clearly saved by Bond. It was a great setup by Carlitos Vela to put Cifuentes on the right side to his right foot, shot and saved by Bond. That kind of woke up everyone, at least for the Galaxy as well, too, right? I think we were just talking about how it seemed like a team that, in terms of the LAFC, body language wise, not there. But that first shot by Cifuentes kind of woke things up for the Galaxy and for LAFC as well, right? And we knew what happened a little bit after there. It seemed like both teams were trying to get to know each other in the field. And then what happens? Rodriguez gets injured. I think this is one of the key points where the game completely changed for both teams, but most importantly for LAFC, right? You miss somebody like Rodriguez in such a focal point in the offense. It's going to affect you, right? And they want to go ahead and brought it to Juri Shradi, right? And we know, obviously, later on in the game, the missed opportunity that he caused. But I think, at least a personal opinion, right? I think Chicho came in way too late. We'll touch upon that later on. Obviously, he came in the 66th minute. I think that was a sub to make right there. As soon as he went down, bring him in for Rodriguez, or just not wait until the 66th minute to go ahead and bring someone like Chicho in, right? We know right away what he caused and the goal that he scored, right? I think the 10th minute injury by Rodriguez really affected the team and it showed on the field, right? And right after that, right, 3 minutes right after that, we get the goal by Chicharito. It's a great setup by Grandsir, who I think was one of the highlights out of the LA Galaxy for sure. Great setup, right? He ends up finding Chicharito, but it was also a mistaken error by the goalkeeper LAFC, right? I think he gets caught in no man's land, trying to go ahead and not deciding if coming out or coming in, and he gets caught in between that. Chicharito, that's kind of the player that you don't go ahead and allow any of those opportunities around the 18 box, and he made him pay. He made him pay clearly, and he goes 1-0 up in the scoreboard. And I think from what I'm seeing from Chicharito Hernandez this season, and I've pointed it out on Twitter account. By the way, follow me at Jose Duran Sports. I think it's a different Chicharito, right? As soon as he scores it, I mean, you can see the emotion in him. You obviously see him throughout the whole season, but he looks for a Grandsir, right? He looks for him. He goes towards right at him, and he celebrates like no other. And I think the kind of leadership that we're seeing out of Chicharito Hernandez this season shows why he's the MLS top goal scorer, right? And as well as why the Galaxy have managed to have a great start to the season. Go up 1-0, and that kind of solidify the first couple of 15 minutes, you know. And then the 23rd minute, we have that Vela miss, right? We saw Lito miss, lose the ball, right? I believe it was Fuentes who gets it right through, and he puts Vela to put him through to his left foot, but he opens up way too wide for his left foot. Obviously, we know that that's his preferred to go to foot when he's attacking, and because of that, I think he needs to put that in the back of the net. I mean, no matter what it is, but for him being Carlos Vela, right, and being the player that he is, he needs to go ahead and finish those. He puts that in the back of the net. It's a 1-1 game, and again, at that point of the game, it would have seemed like LAFC would have had the upper hand, right? The Galaxy managed to get that goal, but it did seem like LAFC kind of had a little bit more of the ball as time went on, right? And we saw that with that opportunity clearly missed by Vela. One of the opportunities that the LAFC, I know we want to talk about the referees and the VAR, but these opportunities, like the one that Vela missed, the one that the Jury Shorty missed in the second half, are the opportunities that you need to put in the back of the net. And we're not talking about the referees throughout the week, right? But a clear miss by Carlitos Vela in the 23rd minute would have had things 1-1. Fast forward to the 20th minute, we had the Vela offsides. I know that's the first offsides out of the three that comes out of a Calian Costa free kick. Vela manages to go ahead and get his head into it. We're looking it on in the field. We obviously know how the angles are in the cameras are not the perfect way it is. The referee has the best angle on the field. He winds up, he picks up the flag. They go back to look at it in VAR, and we see how tight it is compared to how we're getting it at a slower down motion, at an angle that's paused. The referee is not, and because of that, right, the angle that it's in, you got to go with the call on the field. That's just everywhere, not in MLS, everywhere in the world. That's the way it is. Goes in the call on the field, offsides, no goal. Good call by the referee in my eyes. Fast forward to the 31st minute, Sega Coulibaly goal, right? I think that's one of the defenders that I've been most critical of throughout the whole season, but this past game, he had a great game. Not to mention getting behind the goal. I think what he did on the defensive side was great. Obviously his best game of the season. But let's talk about that goal. Grandsir with his second assist of the game, and boy, he is having himself quite a season, right? Being a top assist leader in MLS up there. But the setup, right? The way I think those are the best kind of dangerous balls that you could put in as it across, especially if, as a player, you know that you have that teammate at the end of that back line that could go ahead and just push the finishing touch like Grandsir did. I think Vela, if you look at the replay, he's the one that's in front of sort of Grandsir, gets stuck in between Grandsir and the player making the run. He decides to go with the player making the run. That hesitation second gives Grandsir just enough time to make that clear pass. If Vela stays where he's at, it kind of seems like it would take a deflection. He would have Grandsir definitely thinking about not making that cross. He makes that cross. Coulibaly finishes it in the back end, and it's 2-0 Galaxy to go start the celebrations in Dignity Health Sports Park. But by the way, great attendance, third consecutive sellout for the LA Galaxy out there, and kudos to all the fans, the Galaxy fans, the LAFC fans, for a great atmosphere. We didn't hear nothing in terms of fan involvement or anything. We obviously know the teams were pushing heavily for no incidents to be happening on the stands. So kudos to both teams for allowing a great atmosphere and demonstrating to not only the United States and the nation, but the world what it is to have soccer in Los Angeles. And I think one of the greatest rivalry in Major League Soccer, right? So we get the 31st minute goal by Sega Coulibaly, and that kind of takes us to the half. It goes ends the first half for the Galaxy up 2-0. LAFC, a lot to regroup in the second half. A lot that Cherundolo has to go ahead and think about how he's going to go ahead and take on the next 45 minutes. That's where I think he should have came in hot with Chicho right away. If he does, I think it goes a different way, just because I know the type of player, we know the type of player that Chicho Arango is. And I think that trio, and another reason I don't understand too why Chirundo was hesitant to start those three. I know Poku, what he brings to the table too was right, but the trio of Arangu, Rodriguez, and Vela, it's lethal, man. So he ends up not deciding to putting him in right at the half. I think that ends up being costly for them. But we'll go into the second half in the second part of Futboliando here with everything that happened in this El Trafico in the next 45 minutes. And we are back here for the second half discussion of this great El Trafico game. I know I discussing with colleagues, friends, and discussing the game. I say, you know what, no matter what the score is and no matter what happens in these games, you're going to get a great matchup and a great game between these two teams. Ever since the first edition, obviously what happened with Zlatan, these games have not disappointed. On the field, in the stands, the banter that goes on Twitter weekly between the fans and everything that surrounds the game itself, and the whole 45 minutes of soccer too that goes. 90 minutes of soccer that goes on for El Trafico. It doesn't disappoint. But right now we're going to be discussing the whole second half, which pretty much was all LAFC. I don't know why Vanny decides to go ahead and take his foot off the pedal. 2-0 is the worst score you could have in soccer. It's a score that obviously you have a 2-goal lead, but in a heartbeat could just be turned into a 2-1. You're tied to 2 and you could be down 3-2, right? So Vanny decides to go ahead and take his foot off the pedal. Chicharito disappears for that whole second half. The whole LA Galaxy does for the second half, and it starts off right away with in the 47th minute, a Vela goal called offsides again, right? The ball gets won on the sideline. I believe if it wasn't Poku gets the ball, he puts through Vela, and Vela is in an offsides position on that one. There's not that much discussion on that one. I think the most of the discussions are in the first and the last offsides, but Vela's caused offsides, and luckily for the Galaxy, it's not a 2-1 lead really early in the first half, right? And I think that's where the Galaxy played a really good first half defensively, as you see. But the second half, that kind of goes away. Mistakes happen in the back, and luckily for them, they didn't go down in the scoreboard. They didn't go. The goal lead that they had didn't get cut by that Vela offsides. Fast forwarding into the 58th minute, we see a great run by Grand Cyr. A great run down the line by Grand Cyr, and then we see a bolting Chicharito out of nowhere coming through the middle of the field, and that's where I go back and discuss the leadership and the player that Chicharito is, right? He's making these type of runs and showing himself that if he's doing it at the age that he is, there's no reason why everybody else shouldn't be doing it. And as well as why I kind of mentioned that, and I'll discuss it later on in the game, is the lack of what I've seen from Efrain Alvarez. I think he was the biggest disappointment in the LA Galaxy for this past game, and for the previous couple games too, right? Ever since that goal he scored against Charlotte, I think he hasn't showed up and demonstrated an ability to go have at least back-to-back good games. We'll talk about that later on as we go on the podcast. But what Chicharito is doing and the runs that he is demonstrating to players like Efrain Alvarez, saying, hey, you know what? I'm putting in 110% effort. You should as well. Makes that great run. I think, in my opinion, because what ends up happening, Chicharito gets Grancio puts a great ball, almost his third assist of the game, to Chicharito. Chicharito then receives it almost to his right hand. He had two options. He could have shot it at first time, which I think that would have been the best option, because you're coming in with all the momentum and the ball's perfectly placed for you. Opposed, when you decided to cut back, that completely kills your momentum. He gets stuck with the defender, and the defender takes the ball away from him there. Great stop by defending by the LAFC backline. But Chicharito, I think, would have had a better opportunity, or something happening, possibly even getting a corner, if he decides to takes that one time. And that's in the 58th minute for those of you who are interested in going and looking back in that replay. But wanted to go ahead and break down what I saw in those plays, and I think that was a crucial play that could have had the Galaxy up either 3-1 or an opportunity to go ahead and create some danger, a more dangerous shot that leads to a corner. 59 minutes, shot by Acosta and a great save by Bond. Bond keeps demonstrating every week why he's the Galaxy goalkeeper for the future and to come, and great for the Galaxy to finally have a great goalkeeper. I think it had been a couple of rough seasons trying to decide who was going to be the LA Galaxy starter. Bingham, obviously, we saw that he wasn't the answer, and for various reasons, the mistakes that we saw him do on the field. Finally, to get Bond. Last year, the defense wasn't able to go ahead and help him. He led the league in saves, but that's mostly because the defending that's in front of you isn't getting the job done. This year, it's turning around. The Galaxy defense wasn't great in the second half, but they're finding ways. They're finding ways to go ahead and make a difference. Like that run stopped by Araujo, right? That Vela shot that goes deflected off Araujo in the last second. What a sprint by him, right? We'll get on there on touch about that too. But what a sprint by Araujo on that Vela play. I think he also is demonstrating and as to why a lot of fans have been critical of him in recent, and rightfully so. But plays like that are what wins fans back, right? He ends up making a huge sliding save on Vela, and if not for that, it's a whole different game for this El Trafico, right? But let's move on to 65th minute, save by Bond on a header by Cifuentes. I mean, it doesn't get any more beautiful than that, right? They always say when a goalkeeper throws himself and makes an amazing save, it's for the infamous photo that's going to be saved for the records. But what an amazing save by Bond. We talked about him. We say how big he is for the LA Galaxy this season. What an amazing save to keep the game close there for Jonathan Bond, and a reaction save, right, for him. I think one of the other standouts for the LA Galaxy, aside from Granciera and Chicharito, a Bond, right? But he's been doing it week after week after week. And after that goal to that Vela scored and gets offside in the 47th minute, the way he gets on top of his defenders, right? We haven't seen that much of a leadership out of the LA Galaxy goalkeeper. So good to see from Bond, and a great save to keep things close at 2-0 for the Galaxy for the time, and taking a goal away from Cifuentes for sure. Moving on, 66 minutes, substitution. Finally, at the 66th minute, being down still 2-0, Cherundolo decides to bring Arango. I think it's way late for that. We saw what he was able to do in just 24 minutes of play, right? But I think you bring him in way sooner than that for if you're at LAFC. You don't have the player of that caliber just sitting on the bench in a game of this magnitude, and just the kind of player that he has demonstrated throughout the year, right? I think what he did last year for the team, the type of player that he is, and when he does play, the impact that he has for this LAFC team, you don't have that sitting on the bench if you're Cherundolo. You're putting him right in second half, if not sooner, with that Rodriguez injury. He puts him into the 66th minute, and we obviously know what ends up happening, right? And then we fast forward to the 71st minute, right? A couple minutes pass on, and then that clear miss by Tajuri Shradi. What a miss. Vela does everything that he has to do, right? Gets the ball to his right hand side, ends up crossing it, and everyone in the stadium, everyone at home watching, is saying, there it is, they're back in the game, it's 2-1. And what does Tajuri Shradi do? He misses the wide open goal and has it. It looks almost as it deflects a Blessing. Other angle seems like it doesn't deflect Blessing. He points at Blessing like if it's his fault for him missing that wide open goal. There's no one to blame for than Tajuri Shradi for that clear and opportunity miss. And another one of those misses that we're pointing at as a reason why the game should be focused on these misses and not the VAR. They put these goals away. There's not discussion about or controversy other than these clear misses, right? So they kind of beat themselves at the same time did LAFC for missing clear opportunities like this. And it's something as if as soon as they step into Dignity Health Sports Park, especially the way the season's been going for this LAFC team, undefeated team. I think the most complete team in terms of what we've seen in the history of LAFC. I think in the past years they've been very Vela dependent. I think this team is not Vela dependent, and it's great for them. Whether he's on or he's off, they're going to be great with or without him. And that's something that we haven't been able to say of LAFC in years past, right? But you got to put these away. You got to find a way to go ahead and finish these clear opportunities. But it's almost as if no matter what of a great team they have, record-wise or what have you, as soon as they step in to Dignity Health Sports Park, all of that gets erased. The Galaxy gets elevated for obviously playing at home in front of their crowd, and it shows on the field, right? Fast forward to the 79th minute, Chicho goal. The Puy just gets beat, and it's someone who had just came in, right, to help out the defense. And this is where I go back again, where the Galaxy are going to end up being themselves at the end of the season because of their defense. The Puy, of greatest player he is, and I said it many times how great a defender he is because of the effort that he puts in. You cannot get beaten on a throw-in ball like that. Zero way, amateur hour, bush league, whatever you want to call it. That is not top-notch defending. MLS, any league defending for a defender. You cannot get beaten on offsides that way by Vela. Any player, and then especially a player like Carlos Vela, because what is he going to do? He's going to beat you clearly and get a clear shot with his left foot. He doesn't care if he's going to. It's obviously the intent is to go ahead and get into the back of the goal. But at that point, he knows where Chicho is getting the ball on target for the goalie. Could go ahead, have a rebound, and make a simple tap in. Horrible defending by the Puy. The Galaxy get beat. The Galaxy beat themselves and allow them to get back into the game. And it would have happened a lot sooner if it wasn't for that. It would have happened in the Acosta Bond save that Cifuentes missed. Like I've been mentioning throughout the whole time I've been talking the second half, it was all LAFC throughout the whole second half and not much for the LA Galaxy. And luckily for them, it was just 2-1 before that. If not, it would have been tied for those if it wasn't for those misses for LAFC. But it's 2-1, 11 minutes to go, and anything can happen. What happens in the 87th minute? Kevin Cabral. I want to talk about disappointments, not just this season, but in general, folks. Kevin Cabral for the LA Galaxy has just been that all overall, and it's someone that you kind of just wish and cheer for, and you're saying he's going to turn it around this game, that's going to be now where he fixed it around. He must a great run, and then just gets caught in between his cutting back, somehow loses the ball. It somehow ends up getting to Efrain Alvarez's foot, and what does Efrain Alvarez do? He just blows it up, and again, it goes back to those two, I think, too, right? I think those are just the two players who have just not shown for the LA Galaxy any spark. More so Cabral than Efrain. Efrain, obviously, the goals that he does and that magical left foot that he has, but it's doesn't translate to go ahead and having an impact on the game as it has with other players, right? I think if he has a great back-to-back games, it'll be surprising, but you see one great game from Efrain Alvarez, and then you don't see it for the next 3 or 4 games. Cabral missed. That would have ended things and put things away at 3-1. It ends up not going, and then what happens in the 90th minute? Carlitos Vela ends up putting a ball in. We see a player on the far side as Carlitos puts that cross. Players offsides. The ball deflects off of Blessing, and the pro referees have taken out the audio from the referees discussing this via VAR, and if it's clear as day why he was offsides. Not sure what the much discussion is either way. And Blessing is even offsides when he's coming back as the player shoots the ball towards goal. He's in an offside position. I honestly don't know what the fuss is about the call as much as it has been, and it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, people who complain about calls about being referees and having the game stolen are not seeing the bigger picture, not seeing the clear misses by the team, are not seeing that an undefeated LAFC team came to the Dignity Health Sports Park and completely laid an egg in the first half. And it's happened year after year after year after year. That's the bigger picture. Not that the refs missed the blow call or whatnot. It's the Vela miss in the first half. It's the Tajuri shot he missed in the second half. It's those goals that they couldn't have put it away that cost them. It's the mistake by the goalkeeper that allowed Chicharito to get the first goal in the first place. It's all those things that end up going, and not blaming the ref. We're not in grade school anymore where we could go ahead and point fingers and that be upset about it or what have you, but it's the play on the field that ends up being the biggest takeaway for me. Like I mentioned in one of my eyes, Galaxy standouts, obviously Grancier and Chicharito, what he was able to do in the first half. In the second half, not so much, and existed. Disappointments for me, Efrain Alvarez and Cabral, and I mean, and on the other side of the picture, standouts for LAFC, I think were Chicho, because when he comes in, the player that he is and the impact that he has, and Cifuentes. I think he had a couple opportunities, great saves by Bond, the header that he had. He's a great player that makes an impact, and for me, the biggest disappointment for LAFC was the Rodriguez injury. I think he ends up staying on the field. It's a completely different game for both of these teams, but unfortunately for them, he ends up getting an injury, ends up leaving the game, and that kind of just takes it from there. And the Galaxy ends up finding another way to go ahead and get the upper hand on this El Trafico between these two great Los Angeles teams. And like I mentioned earlier in the episode, I think we're demonstrating to not only the nation but to the world what Los Angeles is the epicenter of soccer in the country, right? A lot of people want to go ahead and talk and discuss about different areas of different cities in the East Coast that might be the Mecca of soccer. The Mecca of soccer now is Los Angeles, and it's going to be for years to come, thanks for these two great franchises and what they're doing on the field when it comes to facing each other, right? The marketing side of it, the games that ends up going in between these two are amazing, and I only can't wait for that July 8th game over there at the Bank of California Stadium. But this one ends for the LA Galaxy at 2-1. A bit of controversy throughout, obviously, to the game. A lot of fans talking about it on Twitter, but it ends up being a 2-1 victory for the LA Galaxy. They ended up in another pan and fighting up in the West Coast standings. It's LAFC and LA Galaxy in the second place, and that's exactly the way you want to see it. That's exactly the way it should be for both of these franchises. You're in Los Angeles. You have to win championships. You have to win first, but being first isn't it. You have to win an MLS Cup, and I think most of these teams are getting themselves prepared for making those type of runs in the playoffs. Great, it's going to be great to see both of them go out throughout the whole season. But that is it for us here in this episode of Futboliando. It was a great covering El Trafico and breaking down the game with you all here tonight. We hope to see you again. Stay tuned for our next episode. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, I am Jose Duran with Silent Sports Media, Futboliando. Thank you so much for joining us.